4 years, 11 months, 25 days. That is the difference in time between when Travis Scott dropped Astroworld to when he dropped Utopia. 5 years to drop an album. It's crazy, it's insane, and Utopia has been one of the most anticipated albums within the last few years simply because of how much Travis Scott has been hinting at it. It's an album that has been talked about for a very long time and one that I have been anticipating for a while, so as soon as it dropped, I was planning on making a song-by-song reaction video as soon as the album dropped, but I ended up going to a listening party, so I was unable to do so. So instead, what I'm going to be doing is doing a song-by-song review and then one big review of the album at the very end with my final thoughts and a rating. So with that being said, let's get into it. So Utopia is an album that spans across 19 songs and an hour and 13 minutes in total, and the song that starts off the album is called HYAENA. This song samples both Funkadelic and 70s British prog rock band Gentle Giant, and it is one of the few tracks on the album in which Travis Scott does not have a feature artist accompanying him. As an introduction song to an album, I thought this track was perfect. Giving us a little speech, which is a sample off of Gentle Giant's Proclamation at the beginning of the song, was a good way to segue into the beat, which wasn't a crazy hard beat drop or anything. It was more so a funky sort of layout as opposed to majority of Travis Scott's songs, but it was a perfect way to lead into the rest of the song, which had some of Travis Scott's most consistent bars. And towards the end of the song, there's an atmospheric and sort of ambient outro, which made me think that there was going to be somewhat of a transition into the next song, but there wasn't, and we're just brought into Thank God, which features KSI and TELEKINESIS Touchdown, which was another fantastic song in my eyes. I like how throughout the track, Travis Scott reflected upon himself and his own faults, and recognized his own growth as a person, through lines such as, "The way we evolved and knocked down walls, this shit's outrageous." Travis Scott seems to reflect and realize on the growth he's had as a person and starts to understand how far he has come. And I feel like it's become a habit of this album to have sort of ambient outros and then not lead into another song, sort of like a transition, because that is exactly what happened again with Thank God into Modern Jam. And when I first listened to Modern Jam, I really didn't know how to feel. It was very different. It was very funky compared to the previous two songs, but it wasn't something that I hated. But I will admit, I laughed during TELEKINESIS Touchdown's verse just because I was so confused as to what I was initially listening to, but over time, the song has started to grow on me a lot more, and it's one that if it comes on, I'll listen to it, but it's not one that I'll actively go back and choose to listen to. And speaking of being confused initially, when I first heard My Eyes, I thought Frank Ocean was going to come out. I had hope for 1 second that I was going to hear Frank's angelic ass voice because the first part of My Eyes sounds like something off Blonde. But we're not going to talk about that one bar. Roly-poly on my wrist. Roly-poly on my wrist? I thought we've moved on past this. But anyways, the second part of My Eyes with the beat switch was fantastic. Travis just did not stop. He just kept going. He ate that beat up. It was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed the second part of My Eyes. And that's not to say that the first part was bad at all. I'm just saying that I enjoyed the second part a lot more because I feel like it fit with the theme of the overall album, because the first part of the song felt a lot more deep and emotional because of Bon Iver's synths, and I just felt like Travis Scott portrayed what he was talking about a lot better within the second part of the song, especially when dealing with childhood. Now, the next song, produced by Kanye, God's Country, is one eerie ass song. It's filled with children screaming, and it just feels like there's some villainous shit going on. Now, with a title like God's Country and the subject matter that Travis was discussing within the song, there could be a lot of interpretations about what it means, but the song was just too short to really give anything. He raps about his mood, feeling enraged, mischievous, evil, but I didn't really feel like there was too much going on within the song, especially only being 2 minutes long. And the song concludes, and then we are brought to Sirens, which has one of the most beautiful introductions I have ever heard. That shit started and I started floating. I was levitating. It was beautiful. I adored it. And it brought something very different and new to the album, especially with the very glitchy atmosphere that was happening throughout the song, especially towards the end. It felt very Yeezus-esque, and it was something that was different that was brought to the table and something that I really appreciated. Now, the next song is controversial. A lot of people believe it to be overrated. A lot of people believe it to be generic, but I think the song is very okay. I don't think there's anything really special to Meltdown. I think it's just, you know, another Drake and Travis Scott song with a beat switch. I don't think that there was anything different than what we've heard between the two of them before, but I'm not saying the song is bad whatsoever. Like every single song on Utopia, I'm gonna say this right now, I enjoy. I would listen to every single song on Utopia because I like every single song, but there are certain things that I do like more so than others, but at the end of the day, I still do enjoy the song, and especially Drake's verse. It sounded a lot different than majority of the stuff that I've listened to him, and I really enjoyed the way he started off the song. Now this next song, oh boy, I don't want to hear a thing. I don't care. I don't care at all.
I'm very sorry, and I apologize for the inconvenience of me not giving a fuck!
My king is on this song. Sure, he sounds different. Do I care? Do I look like I care? I don't care whatsoever. Cardi is on this song. It's a 10. That is my outlook. You're gonna call me a meat rider? You're gonna say I'm glazing? Gladly. I don't care. I'm taking Cardi saying fiend over half these rappers' discography, so we're not even gonna really talk about that. But in all seriousness, I really did enjoy this song. I loved hearing this new style of Cardi. If he's going to continue with this deeper sort of voice within his next upcoming music, I'm a fan. You know, I'm always gonna be a baby voice Cardi fan. I'm always gonna be a screamo Cardi fan off Whole Lotta Red, but if this is the style that he wants to go back to or start doing, then I'm all for it. I really enjoyed the way it sounded. Now with Echoes, I feel like this song could have done more. The song was very boring to me. I don't really want to say boring, but there just wasn't a lot going on. The song stayed very static throughout the whole way. They would build up the song after Travis's part and Beyonce would come back in. They would build it up and then nothing would really happen. It would just stay very static with the whole drums and the banging. That was really it. There was nothing more that really happened to the song, and I also wasn't really a big fan of Beyonce's verse too much. I feel like this is probably the only song in the album that I wouldn't choose to really go back to. And it's not because it was bad, it was boring to me. There just wasn't a lot going on, and I wouldn't find myself listening to it again. I'm a huge fan of I Know. I really like this song. I like how it's slower and sort of melodic, but it's still a hip hop and rap song. It's still energetic and there's still stuff going on. I find it very catchy, and I think it's because of Travis's calmer voice within this song is why I enjoy it so much. I'm a huge fan of Travis's heavy and sort of aggressive music, but I really enjoy when he spits out a lot of bars in sort of a calmer way that still seems to be energetic by the end of it. And speaking of energetic, Utopia Twins was a really good song. I really enjoyed it. There wasn't anything too much going on that threw me off. It was a very simple rap song. I really enjoyed it. But when 21 came in, I went crazy. Not saying his verse was insane or anything, but for some reason I wasn't expecting him to be on this album. And for me personally, really any 21 Savage song is gonna get me going. He really manages to hype me up so much, and I think that's why I really enjoyed this song, and was why I was even more shocked because I was so unexpected to hear his voice. But nonetheless, I really liked that track. There wasn't a lot going on, but it wasn't dull, it wasn't boring, it was just a simple yet well executed song. CIRCUS Maximus was a fantastic song. I loved the Black Skinhead sample off of Kanye West's Yeezus, and I loved Sway Lee's vocals at the beginning of the song, and the way The Weeknd came in midway through was fantastic. He sounded angelic. That shit was beautiful. Great song. I really loved the sample, and I liked the way that Travis threw his own little spin on it, even though it was based off of Black Skinhead. But overall, not too much to talk about. It's just a song that I really enjoyed, and I'm really glad that the features worked really well together on this song. Speaking of features working well together, Young Lean and Travis Scott on PARASAIL was a surprisingly great duo. The song was a drastic change to what was previously in the album, and not one that I particularly didn't like, but one that I guess I wasn't prepared for. There's nothing bad about the song, but I feel like I have to give it a few more listens, and a few listens especially with lyrics, in order to fully appreciate the song, because the topics within the song weren't bad. Both Young Lean and Travis Scott talked about self-loathing and forgiveness, and it wasn't a bad song by any means, but I feel like I just need to give it a few more listens in order to fully appreciate it, because the subject matter's there. I'm just not the biggest fan right now, but like every song on this album, it'll eventually grow on me. Now SKITZO, I love this song. Young Thug gave it an okay feature. It was pretty good, but it was just too short and very early on in the song, and it felt very drowned out because there was 4 other minutes left in that song after he concluded his feature, which felt like just a run-on. It felt like there was just way too much going on, and it was way too drawn out for a feature to be that early, where I feel like if Travis just cut that song off towards like the middle part of actually how long the song is, and then maybe saved the rest of the song for another song because the beat is phenomenal. The transitions between the beats are amazing, but I feel like it went on too long and could have been incorporated into another song. But I still love the song, it's great. I would just appreciate if the first 4 minutes were a separate song than the last like 2, but that might just be me, because as soon as the 3 minute and like 50 mark hits, another beat switch comes in and then Travis just goes off, and I feel like that could have just been a transition into another song as opposed to being in the same song, because it feels very drawn out and long for no real reason. It just feels overly lengthy. Then the next track is called Lost Forever, which was a song that was leaked a while back featuring Westside Gunn, and a lot of people were unsure with whether or not his feature was going to remain on the song, but it did, and I am so glad it was, because that song was built for him. That is a Westside Gunn song. That is a perfect beat. The drums were fantastic. The production was insane. It is probably my favorite song on the whole album. It was perfect. I love the way that Westside Gunn came in, and I adored the way the beat slightly switched from the previous beat when Travis was rapping to when Westside Gunn started. I loved everything about this song. It was produced perfectly, and I'm so glad that Westside Gunn kept his feature and that he was on the song as opposed to anybody else, because this beat was built for him. Love with 3 O's, I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. Hold up. Give me a second. Yeah, Love with 3 O's was a good song. It was very pumpy, very dancey, very hyped up. I love it. Every time I listen to it, I can't help but just rock my head back and forth. I give it a stank face. I love it. It's a really good song, and I couldn't help but notice that the entire song felt very inspired by Kanye and Kid Cudi, and then Kid Cudi came in, and I was like, oh, that's probably why, but it was a great song. I really enjoyed it. And even saying that, you know, it reminded me of Cudi. Cudi didn't drown out Travis whatsoever. They both still had amazing verses, but I really liked how pumpy and how poppy it was. It just very dancey, and I really enjoyed it. I can't really find anything that I disliked about it, but Telekinesis made that song look like absolute shit. Telekinesis made every single song on that album look like shit. Telekinesis is a song. Telekinesis is the song. Oh my god. Future, Travis, and SZA all delivered phenomenal performances, and oh my god, let's focus on SZA for a second. I started levitating. I was floating. I dare one person to come up with anything wrong with that track. Newsflash, you can't. It's perfect. Beautiful song. I'm not even going to talk about it for much longer because I can't. Not much more to say. It's perfect. Amazing. And now we're into the final song, Till Further Notice. I'm very glad this song, as an outro song, wasn't generic like a lot of outro songs to albums, being very slow and sort of taking the listener slowly down into the end of the album. The song was still very energetic with 21 Savage, and it was still very hyped up, and it was something that I don't see a lot on albums, unless I'm mistaken. Obviously, I'm not saying it's never been done before, but I really appreciate that Travis decided to do it on this album, considering he had a lot of slower songs thrown into the middle and the mix of the album. I'm not a huge James Blake guy, but his voice wasn't too prominent within this track, so I can't really complain. I'm not a big fan of his voice. Like, there's something about it that just irks me a little bit. I don't know. Not bad whatsoever. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way. But he wasn't too prominent in the song. He came in and did what he had to do, and I appreciated it a lot. And I thought that this was a very good track to end off this record. And yeah, that's basically it. That concludes the album. I do think this album is good. I think it's a good album. I think it's up there with Astroworld and Rodeo. I think that even without features, it's a good standalone album, whereas Astroworld, what made Astroworld so great for me was its features, but even without the features, Utopia still stands on its own. It's still a great album. The production carries it, in my opinion. It's a great album. Not much I can really complain about. I'm not going to give it a concrete rating just yet because I still need to listen to it a few more times, because I feel like some songs will grow off me and some songs will grow a lot more on me over time after I listen to the album a few more times, especially with lyrics. But for now, I'm going to leave it just unrated, but I'm going to say that it's a good album. I'm going to say it's up there with Astroworld and Rodeo. I feel like it has its great qualities, but I also feel like Rodeo and Astroworld beats it in other aspects and other qualities. But great album nonetheless. Travis did what he had to do. The features were great. And yeah, that's really all I can say. Good album. Let me know your guys' thoughts about the album in the comment section below. I'd be gladly down to talk to you guys about the album. Let me know your thoughts and all that. And yeah, see you guys next time.